Hello, my fellow witches, sorcerers, and other magical practitioners. My name is Aiden, and today we are finishing up the most main part of my Deity Work series, Episode 4, Advancing Deity Work. So, basically, what we're going to go over is ways to step up from how you start out with Deity Work, which in my last video I kind of went over starting out Deity Work and how to really get your footing in that field of magical study. So this video will be talking about stepping up, how you can advance that and get into deeper, more spiritual practices with deities. But overall, if you are already advancing with Deity Work, you will probably understand that a lot of this is very personal, you can't tell someone what to do, really. You can, well, in all magic, you can't tell someone what to do. We'll get into that later in another video. But you can't really tell someone how they can advance their deity work. And again, this series is mostly geared towards neo-pagans who are practicing a more neo-pagan-centric tradition. It's not going to apply to all forms of deity work across every culture, so just be aware of that. Anyways, let's just jump into it. Whatever, disclaimers out the way, let's go. So how can you advance from deity work? You're already doing spells, you're already praying. What do you do next? Well, the next logical step to me is more devotional rituals and more mysticism-based stuff. Because practical magic, while it is very useful and very helpful, it is not the entirety of what magic can be. Although mysticism and practical magic are very intertwined, a lot of people don't see them that way, so I'm going to use that as a sort of separation point so it gets my point across easier. Although once you get deeper into magic, you do start to understand that practical magic and mysticism are intertwined and they go hand in hand. Anyways, so what can you do once you start to get into mysticism? Well, the first one, obviously, to me is evocation and invocation. Now, I'm going to define what those words mean to me. However, people have tons of different definitions. I come from a more grimoire-based practice, so that's what kind of defines my understanding of them. Evocation is to draw a spirit out and into the space. So like you have your circle, and you call that spirit into the circle or outside the circle if you prefer. You're just calling them into the space. Invocation is bringing them inside of you, to bring them into you so that there's still separation. It's not a full-on possession. It's like a lesser form on the possession spectrum. But you're bringing them into your body so they can influence your actions and your thoughts. It's a more intimate form of evocation. And the line sometimes blurs. With everything in the occult, everything blurs at some point, really. Some people start with an evocation and draw that spirit into them. Some start with an invocation and draw that spirit out of them. It all depends. I personally usually just go straight to invocation at this point in my practice. I don't really see a need to evoke most of the time. And the ways people do this is very different across different practices. I personally like to do long, drawn-out evocations and invocations. I mean, I come from a grimoire practice, that's what I prefer. I think it's helpful for a lot of people because it gets you into the visual headspace. It's like building up that energy, building up that idea of this deity. Because you'll be like, thee I invoke Persephone, young maiden of spring, beautiful thou art, I call ye here. Changer of seasons, death and life, thou art within me and without me. For you, O great goddess, dread Persephone, I sing your praises forever and always. Into me I draw you, and through me you become me. I won't go further with that, but you get the picture, because I don't want to actually do an invocation on camera, in this video at least. Some people are very against ritual work on camera. I'm in a weird gray space with it. That will be up to you to decide. I'll probably do a video on that eventually. I have a lot of the video ideas in my head right now, but we will get into those later. Anyways, what's really important right now is discussing how you advance with these. Some people, again, going back to methods, some people just say, I invoke the deity over and over again until they feel that deity is invoked. That's their choice. Do what works for you. I like drawn out long things, and it's practical for some people, impractical for others. It's just what it is. If you are doing invocation, evocation, do know how to banish and cleanse a space, because you're going to want to form some form of ritual around that. You don't usually just invoke on random. I personally don't suggest it because I have done that before and it has yielded weird results and made me very uncomfortable. If you like to invoke on random and it works for you, do what you want, but this is just my suggestion for people who are starting to get into this practice based on my personal experiences. I find that invoking on random can lead to weird results and feelings of being uncomfortable or in danger, so have yourself grounded, have yourself some form of protection. Doesn't need to be physical, it can be purely just I'm protected by the 4 elements. Earth, wind, fire, water. That's not the right order, by the way. It's just an example. But yeah, then you can go into doing a cleansing bath or whatever, then do a little banishing with whatever method you prefer. Just know how to set up a space. You want to get into a mindset. The magical mindset is very important when starting out and advancing deity and spirit work. You want to get into the magical mindset, so having an altar set up might be nice and helpful. Having some music can help a lot. Making a playlist for your preferred spirit that you're going to be working with in ritual. It's a good idea to have something that gives you a visual aid or an auditory aid or whatever you need, a sensory aid of some kind for that spirit. It gets you into the magical mindset, and I'm going to do a video on the magical mindsets within a month at least, hopefully. But yes, I keep getting off track. It's a lot to talk about, and I haven't recorded in a bit, so I'm a little bit rusty. Anyways, yeah, working with those forms of ritual work can be very helpful for advancing your relationship with a deity and diving deeper with them. The next step up from that would be formulating more specific rituals. Instead of just like a rough outline, it's like, okay, I'm going to do banishing, a cleansing, an invocation, the license to depart, cleansing, banishing, whatever outline you had. You go into more detailed things, and I think this is where things would get really fun. You can look at other people's rituals, or you can just totally make up your own stuff if you know what you're doing. Obviously, magical theory is important. But for example, I made a ritual for chaos that I call the Lesser Ritual of Chaos. It's super great. I love this ritual, but basically it takes elements of the LBRP and Star Ruby, which are both rituals that have somewhat similar purposes. I won't get into the specifics here because they're very interesting, put it that way. Basically took elements of those, but then mixed in some lore about chaos. And I really changed up how... So I basically took the structure of those, but changed up how each thing is used. If you want me to do a video on this ritual, let me know. I would love to share it. It's a very interesting ritual to me. I should probably do it more often. But it basically, the goal of the ritual is to invoke chaos into you and essentially get you to the point of where you are, like, with chaos, touching that peak of what deity is, and then kind of forming what you need from that. It's honestly an opening ritual, not really a full ritual, but I work with it as a full ritual most of the time. But you are working with Chaos's children, and chaos themselves. That's essentially the point of it. I have a lot of magical theory built into most of my rituals, no matter how simple they are, so I talk about things a lot. I need to work on that instead of going off of side tangents about random stuff, but it's fine. It's fine. We're here. It's fine. Most of my videos are pretty rambly already, as you may know. But yeah, formulating your own rituals is a really good idea. It helps you better connect with that spirit and form a more personal bond, I feel, because you aren't just doing someone's outline, you're doing your own unique ritual, your own thing that you created for that specific spirit, with that specific spirit in mind. And sure, you could substitute things, but it's mostly designed for that spirit. Like, you wouldn't, I would, but most normal people wouldn't take the Key of Solomon, like the Greater Key of Solomon, and try to turn that into someone other deity's work. I would, because I'm me and I like to mess with things. But generally, some things are built for specific deities and for specific systems, and you usually want to work with them as they're intended. But I don't know, I'm a little crazy, and I like to make Hellenic Solomonic magic. Yeah, that experiment was interesting, alright. But regardless, you get what I'm saying. You understand what I mean, hopefully. But yeah, that's like getting to be more familiar with your spirit and understanding them on a more personal level and designing and tailoring things to them specifically. Moving up from that, you can start. You want to just start getting more personalized with with that deity. You want to get to know them better. You want to get to start growing deeper with them and understanding their mysteries, and then you can start getting rituals from them. I have a full ritual, 3 pages, a full ritual written out by Hecate herself. I basically just did a light invocation. She told me, if you want, there's this ritual I can give you that you can do and perform if you want to. I wasn't ready for it at the time when she announced it, but I said, okay, give me some time. A little bit later, I invoked her again, and I asked for that ritual. It's essentially channeling, where you let your hand write whatever the deity is telling you in your mind. That's a large part of most of my work with deities is channeling. I don't like the term channeling personally, because of the connotations it has and gives, but it is essentially channeling. And I think it's good to build that relationship with a spirit, that you can just let them into your mind and they will help you write whatever you need to be written and turn that into a ritual. A lot of times when I ask for rituals, it's somewhat cryptic and I don't always understand what the point is unless I ask for a specific thing. But over time, you'll start to understand it and peel back the mystical layers and start to see what it is. So it's kind of, it's a middle step. It's like a weird liminal step where it's like you're putting your trust in this spirit and you're fully trusting it, and you need to put your full trust into them. But you may not understand why things are happening, why they say these things, but it comes with time. Just trust in things, and if something feels weird at any point during an invocation or what have you, you're free to stop. You are totally free to stop and say, okay, spirit, I am uncomfortable with this. I think we need to stop. Thank you for being here, and you can leave now. If they won't leave, just do a banishing. Okay, the reason I keep doing this motion is to start Ruby. At the beginning, you say, Apopantos kakadaiminos, which Crowley says it translates to away from me, you evil spirit. People who speak Greek have told me otherwise, and it's pretty interesting what they say. But generally, it is good to just do a banishing after you give the license to depart to get rid of any negative energy, whether that's something external, if you believe that, or something totally internal. Banishing can help you out a lot. Probably get into that in another video. But yeah, channeling, if you want to call it that, and just working with a spirit to get rituals can help develop your practice a lot. But there's even more beyond that. And it starts to get weirder and stranger from there, like full possession. I'm going to give it a disclaimer, I've never experienced a full-on long-term possession, though I know many people have experienced that, and people have entire traditions around it. I know some African traditional religions have that in their practices. Obviously, it's not going to be the same structure, but is a somewhat similar concept. Possession is consensual. You are both consenting, the spirit and the human, you are both consenting. And essentially you are, from what I understand in my few experiences, you are allowing that spirit to fully take over your body and mind. You are able to hear and feel everything that spirit hears and feels and says and does, that fully takes over your body. It's like a surrendering to the spirit. You don't have to be totally comfortable with that. You don't have to want to do that. Some people do it, other people don't. It's not a requirement. With all things in magic, nothing's a requirement. You don't have to do something to be a true practitioner, a valid witch, or whatever. Do what you're comfortable with, when you're comfortable with it. But possession can be a helpful tool to get to know and understand the deity better and deepen your relationship even further, where they are comfortable being inside of you and having control over you, and you're comfortable with them doing that. It's a very deep and personal thing. I've only had one subtle experience that I can really remember. I've had like a few other experiences probably, but this is the one that really sticks out to me. I was just doing a dance. I was dancing. Dancing is something that I do a lot in my practice. It helps me connect with spirits and divinity as a whole. I was dancing, and I guess I was also invoking the horned god archetype, the devil, whatever you want to call it. But essentially that divine, masculine, demonized pagan thing, that whatever you want to call it. I specifically identified it as the horned god in that moment, but it could also be the devil. It could also be the god. It's whatever. But I felt his emotions flowing through me. I felt an overwhelming sadness, actually, from him. And I felt him, I felt all his thoughts. I had all his thoughts and his feelings just come coursing and flowing through me. I felt my body kind of giving up to him and allowing him to work through me a bit. But it only lasted like 2 minutes. It wasn't that long. Because I wasn't fully comfortable with him being there, and so he ended up leaving out of me. Which is fine, you're allowed to do that. It's not disrespectful in the slightest, because consent between two parties is important with all relationships, no matter what. So yeah, that's kind of where I am. And there's probably more things beyond that that I've not really looked into. I can't really comprehend things beyond that, honestly, because that's where I am in my practice. But these are just some things to advance your practice with deities, and this is not linear progression either. There's no such thing as linear progression in magic, and in multiple other things as well. So if you start possession but go down to invocation, that's not any problem at all. It's just what you're comfortable with. It's what you personally feel is good for your practice. Do what makes sense for you. And obviously everyone's practice is going to look different. So if my practice doesn't look like yours, that's fine. If your practice doesn't look like Stephanie's, it's fine. Look into what you want. Also research multiple different things. Like, If you find some really cool practice someone does with their deities, then do that. Try it out. Obviously, if it's not like closed or whatever, but if you see a cool concept that is open for you to use, go for it. Try it out. See if it works for you. See if you can expand upon it. Yeah, it's just kind of advancing things in deity work is not really a linear thing. It's not really a I can tell you what to do thing. It's something that you kind of figure out on your own. These are just some ideas of things to research, honestly. There's totally plenty of other things out there. And I don't think that anyone really can tell you how to practice. That's a firm belief of mine. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them do magic, if that makes sense. So yeah, thank you for this video, watching this video. I made the video, why am I thanking you for it? Thank you for watching this video. Again, if this resonates with you, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Work with what you can and work with what you want. One last thing before we go. Next video is going to be the technically last video, though not really last video in this series. You'll understand what I mean eventually. We're basically just going to cover miscellaneous topics relating to deity work that I didn't cover in these 4 videos so far, and also answering any questions you guys might have. So feel free to leave them in the comments. Wherever you want to find me, leave them there. Tell me any questions you have. I will answer them in the next video, which might come out this week, might come out next week. Hopefully it comes out before next month. We'll try. Again, sorry for all the delays with this, but thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Leave a comment, and yeah, goodbye.